A dream doesn't become reality through magic.
It takes sweat, determination, and hard work.
Every great dream begins with a dreamer.
Always remember you have within you the strength, the patience, and the passions to reach for the stars to change the world.
History has shown us that courage can be contagious.
And hope can take on a life of its own.
Do the best you can until you know better.
Then, when you know better, do better.
We all require and want respect. Man or woman, black or white, is our basic human right.
There is always light if only we're brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it.
Change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek.
Well, welcome in as WTOL 11 celebrates Black History Month. Over the next hour, we are going to honor the achievements and contributions throughout our country's history.
As we celebrate and reflect on the past, we also look to the future and the ongoing work towards equality and justice for all. We will share the incredible stories of inspiring Black men and women in our community throughout the next 60 minutes.
We also want to thank Toledo Public School students. You just heard from there, reading those quotes from the people you saw just a moment ago. And we'd like to introduce you to more students from Martin Luther King Jr. Academy for Boys. Jeff Smith takes us along as they watch Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech.
I would simply like to say that I think this has been one of the great days of America.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke those words before delivering the most important speech in civil rights history. Over the next 17 minutes, he would reflect upon the past, shine a light on the present, and share his dream for tomorrow.
And I think this march will go down as one of the greatest, if not the greatest, demonstrations for freedom and human dignity ever held in the United States.
There on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial, Dr. King changed the course of history. It's here in the classroom of Toledo's Martin Luther King Jr. Academy for Boys that these students shaped the future.
Our Constitution says all men are created equal. It didn't specify a color, did it? No.
The young men in Miss Sheila Cook's class watched Dr. King's iconic speech and lived their lives modeled after his dream.
He inspired me. All races should be treated the same. He wanted black and white and mostly all races to go to the same school, drink out the same fountain, and play together.
He was very passionate on where the world was going to go and how the world was going to be for his children, because he just wanted a world that was not for people to get based off the color of their skin, but off the character of their personality.
He wanted white people and black people to go to the same school, play with each other and be friends.
He changed my life, and he encouraged me of doing stuff that I thought I couldn't do.
So he basically brought everyone together. You know, black, white, different religions, all walks of life.
Principal Willie Ward stood with his students as they watched Dr. King's words inspire a peaceful crowd of more than 200,000 and moved a few more in that classroom.
It still resonates today, and our teachers epitomize the concept of what Dr. Martin Luther King was trying to convey to the nation, to not only being a leader for black people, African Americans, but also, you know, across the lines of religion, and trying to build a better life. There's no perfect person, but we all stand to learn and our words become actions, and our actions become our legacy.
Dr. King's dream, not just words, action, and a lasting legacy.
He wants his four black children to be able to play with white children. We see that now, right? What else? Did he just mention race? Religions. Okay? He didn't just think about the color. He also thought about our differences religiously.
I have a dream speech would encourage me to do anything that I can do, and so I can believe in myself. They were respecting him while he was talking and listening.
If he wasn't, in my opinion, if he weren't to give that speech, we would probably still end up being in the same way.
I'm very optimistic for our students because I see myself in them. A pathway for success, a pathway for learning, a pathway for our current situation or our current location does not determine my destination.
He gave black people inspired so they can start speaking up.
After the whole speech, basically the world began to basically change from an old era to a new one, where all races could finally live in equality with each other.
Just an amazing job by the kids there, and we do want to thank everyone at the school for allowing us to join them, and a special thanks to Miss Cook's class.
The pastor will say, God is good, and the congregation will say, all the time. And then they say, all the time, God is good.
Well, you hear this type of interaction between a pastor and the congregation in black churches across the country today. But understanding how this and other traditions began takes us back to slavery and African traditions in the U.S. Local scholars believe you can't really understand the black community without understanding the black church. Historically, the institution provided a place to gather and feel safe from discrimination and other injustices. But as times change, we explore the relevance of the black church today.
Put your hands together.
In churches across the country and right here in Toledo, a joyful noise can be heard on Sundays. Worshiping and song and coming together to give thanks. Warren African Methodist Episcopal Church in Toledo is no exception. Currently located on Collingwood Boulevard near Indiana Avenue, Reverend Dr. Otis Gordon Jr. is the senior pastor.
To the God Jehovah.
He's just one leader among generations of pastors sharing the gospel to this congregation.
Back in 1847, what they literally did was they wanted a school. And so this began as a school and then gradually a place of worship, and the first place of worship.
This historical marker sits on Summit Street near Adams in downtown Toledo. It outlines the humble but mighty beginnings of Warren AME, not only Toledo's first black church, but the city's first black institution.
African Americans, when they worked in society, they were no one. They were second-class citizens. But when they came into the church, they could be the preacher, they could be officers, they were respected and revered. This was a fairly large church.
Reverend Gordon says the history of Warren AME is very long and storied. So is the institution of the black church as a whole.
He says to them, have you not known?
The majority of African Americans, even today in 2023, practice Christianity.
Angela M. Siner is the director of Africana Studies at the University of Toledo. She explains how the origins of today's black church date back to slavery in the U.S.
They saw Jesus as an activist. Jesus was on the side of the oppressed and not on the side of the oppressors. Late at night, deep in the woods during the period of enslavement, they would hold these meetings called Hush Harbor or Brush Harbor meetings, in which they made Christianity speak to their needs. And they created what I call a black theology. that God was a personal God. If God could save Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, why couldn't he save me, right?
The fight for freedom and justice started from the very beginning,
Dear God,
and lives on to this day.
On Sunday mornings, it's not uncommon for African Americans to sit in church and hear about issues that are confronting the Black community.
at the end of the day, God has the last word.
According to a Pew Research study released in 2021, 66% of Black Americans are Protestant, 6% are Catholic, 3% identify with other Christian faiths, and another 3% belong to non-Christian faiths. But 1 in 5 Black Americans, about 21%, are not affiliated with any religion.
Think about in the 21st century what the church has meant to the community in the 19th century, beginning during period of enslavement and into the 19th and the 20th century. And we come to the 21st century, we have 21% that say they are unaffiliated. That's startling for the Black community.
And the world filled with bad news.
Despite the fact that we might think that the Black church is irrelevant today, it is still relevant. Because individuals still attend. We African Americans have the highest attendance rate, bar none, for attending church. And so the church is still speaking to the needs of the people.
21 through 31.
The truth of the matter is that the church will never die. It will, throughout the larger history of the church, it has ebbed and webbed. So we are in one of those times. The church is in the process of changing. I think that once the church becomes more relevant to people in terms of meeting them where they are with the message of Christ, then we'll be more successful.
Well, from the beginning, the Black church was all about social justice and still is to this day, from community centers to food pantries and being a meeting place to discuss issues of the time. Those efforts are often taken outside of the church walls as well. Professor Siner says it's an institution that is worthy and necessary.
Paula Hicks Hudson is the first Black woman to serve as mayor of Toledo. From there, her political career moved to the Ohio State Senate, a position of which she's proud, especially because of what it allows her to do. Melissa Andrews shares her story.
It is an honor and a privilege to be able to do this kind of work for the citizens of our community.
She worked for her own private law practice and taught criminal justice at the University of Toledo. That's when the Lucas County Democratic Party selected her to fill a vacancy on Toledo City Council.
I saw the impact of young women and young girls, African American, and just girls in general, how they were really excited to see someone like me in this position of power. And I put power in air quotes because the power really belongs to the people.
From there, she became president of City Council. When Mayor D. Michael Collins unexpectedly died in 2015, she became the first Black woman to hold that position.
That is how important it is to have representation, because this country was not founded on one race. This was founded on multiple group of people who came together to work.
Hicks Hudson has lived a life of public service. Before her time on council, she worked as an assistant Lucas County prosecutor, assistant public defender, and assistant state attorney general. She was the legislative director of the Toledo City Council and the director and deputy director of the Lucas County Board of Elections, among other leadership roles. Prior to her election to the Senate, she served as a state representative for Ohio House District 44. All the while fighting for the people she represents.
My ancestors came by force in the belly of slave ships, but have been able to really contribute and help build this country. And, who would have thought that, the great granddaughter of an enslaved person was the mayor of the city of Toledo, now is a state senator, and is able to help draft and put forth those laws that will hopefully expand and protect the rights of people, of marginalized people.
Outside of her political career, Hicks Hudson still lives a life of service here in Toledo. She's a minister here at Redeemer Lutheran Church.
Reporting in Toledo, Melissa Andrews, WTOL 11.
As we continue to highlight people and businesses during this Black History Month, we want to introduce you to the Sweeneys. The husband and wife are in charge of an organization called the Art Tatum Zone. The organization only formed a few years ago, but has been through so much and seen so much success that there's a waiting list for kids to be part of their programming. Kaylee Kirby shares how this group is working to make sure kids and families have the knowledge and resources to be successful in life.
So let's start by adding our ones place.
You can find anywhere from 120 to 150 students taking part in the after-school programming offered by the Art Tatum Zone.
Every single day our program is comprised of, yes, the basics, the reading and mathematics that all of our students need stronger support in, but then we also talk about social emotional learning.
The organization has 3 different locations where students go once the school day is over. One at the Toledo Museum of Art, another at the McClinton Nuns Community Building, and then right here at the Tabernacle Church. Students grades K through 12 get educational support and other experiences like music, theater, and art through enrichment time.
We understand that education opens so many doors and provides so many choices. But what we also understood is that it's more than just reading and writing and mathematics. We wanted to create a love for learning.
But kids aren't the only focus. Calvin and Christine Sweeney say it's a place for the entire family. But to understand that, you have to know the man the organization is named after. Art Tatum.
He grew up in the early mid-1900s. He loved music, but he also loved his family.
Up until a few years ago, his family has called Toledo home, literally.
So we got this home from Art Tatum's niece, Lucille Johnson. She died a few years ago at the age of 84, but she was born in the back room of this house.
Wow. And now that home connects to the vision of the Art Tatum Zone, where kids have the opportunities to excel in education.
And we've seen students go from students on the retention list to students being on the honor roll and principals list.
And parents have the ability to get help and resources through the program too.
And so we provide opportunities for parents to be re-educated or extend their education. We know that you need a comprehensive approach.
They say the goal is to break the generational curses that plague Black families. And doing that involves an approach that extends farther than education.
Pickle pepper, pickle pepper.
Another pillar of the organization is its neighborhood stabilization program.
Part of our mission is to purchase homes in our community, rehab them, make them a place where someone wants to live. We're even looking at renting homes, rehabbing and renting.
The Sweeneys say by doing that, the property taxes and market value of the homes start to go up. And a better neighborhood means more people will want to live and work there.
Our goal is really to eliminate all of the horizontal and the vertical blight in this community. So houses that can be saved, we want to save those houses. We want to have those houses rehabbed and restored. Where they're vacant lots, that horizontal blight, if homes can be built, we want to build new homes there where people can buy and live and raise their families.
They say it's all a cycle, one that works with the whole family to be successful later in life.
The need is so great. No one organization can fulfill that need. We all need to work together to make sure that there's opportunities across the city for kids and families in our community.
The Sweeneys say there is summer programming for the kids to help with instructional loss. And they're also looking at adding a Saturday academy because there's so much interest from families. If you'd like more information on the organization, you could head over to our website, WTOL.com. In studio, Kaylee Kirby, WTOL 11.
Toledo is known for its famous Museum of Art, but did you know there's a museum inside a Toledo public school? To celebrate Black History Month, we go inside to show how a legendary woman is still inspiring young girls every day. After you walk in the doors of Ella P. Stewart Academy for Girls, there are 2 more doors and a living history lesson, a museum paying homage to the school's namesake. You quickly learn who she was with her life and times, artifacts she collected as Goodwill Ambassador for the U.S. Department of State, an American flag she proudly held for years, and a lot of family photos. School counselor Shannon Carter is our tour guide. It's amazing when you walk in here, isn't it?
It is amazing, and every time I walk into this room, I'm just in awe of all that she accomplished throughout her lifetime.
When this school opened in 2003 on Avondale Avenue, it replaced the original Ella P. Stewart School. And Toledo Public Schools made sure there was a designated space for the museum. There's even a bed from her Toledo home. It belonged to her daughter, who passed away as a toddler. Shannon says it shows her love for her daughter and how you can get through a tragedy. And this piece of pride, her degree from the University of Pittsburgh School of Pharmacy.
They told her no several times, but she kept applying, kept writing letters, and advocating for herself until she was admitted.
She would become one of the first black female pharmacists in the whole country.
And there's a photo of her class from 1916 as she sits right here
She's
in
right
the
here
front.
in the front. Wow. And here she is with all these men, right?
With all of these men.
Ella P. Stewart died in 1987, well before Legacy Triplet and Persia French were born. But look at how these sixth graders' eyes light up when you ask about her.
I want to be a lawyer, and it's like not many people like me that are lawyers. And when Ella P. Stewart pushed herself to do something that she wanted to do, it made me want to push myself to do something I want to do, so I could become a lawyer.
Is that inspiring to you that I don't have to accept when people try to limit me?
Yeah, that's good, because like a good inspiration, I can show you can do whatever you want, whenever you want.
Ella P. and her husband ran Stewart's Pharmacy at City Park and Indiana Avenue. They even lived upstairs. For about 25 years, she served a need in Toledo, a pharmacy that catered to African Americans. But Mrs. Stewart never forgot the school named for her. She would visit the kids many times.
And this picture we love because it actually shows her in her element, not here, but in the old school, but in the original building, where she would visit with the children. And you can see how they're looking at her.
When I came into her school,
Sharon Olson was a teacher at the original school and remembers Ella P. Stewart bringing candy to the kids one Halloween.
and she would say to them, lift your head up, be proud of yourself, smile. She told every child that came through, that's what she wanted from them.
Ella P. Stewart was also a fighter for civil rights. Her home, a hub for famous leaders in the area to talk over how they would bring about change. She led by example.
Like here in Toledo, in the movie theater, it was still segregated at that time. And she said she refused to sit where the ushers told her she had to sit. She says, I'm gonna sit where I wanna sit. And she talked to the manager of the movie theater and she said, we are the same. I need to sit here, this is where I wanna sit, and he let her.
So what if Legacy and Persia had the chance to meet Ella P. Stewart? They would be ready.
What was the steps that she took, like more detail that she took to become a pharmacist?
What would you ask her if you had had the chance?
What was her dedication to do it? Like what pushed her to do it?
Ella P. Stewart's legacy lives on in the hallways of this school, not just during Black History Month, but all year long.
We would like her name to be one of those names that you hear every day. It should be a name that everyone is familiar with.
I don't know if you can tell, but she is just, she's a star, she's a rock star.
Since 2013, LGBTQ+ organizations have reported at least 300 deaths involving those who are transgender and gender nonconforming. More specifically, Black transgender women make up nearly 2/3 of them.
Our Trent Croce spoke to advocates who have experienced that hate firsthand to find out what they want others to know.
The Stonewall riots in the 60s were a monumental moment for the LGBTQ+ community. Those impacts have made their way onto places like here, the Toledo Love Wall. However, advocates I spoke with in the community say there's been a lot of animosity they want turned into acceptance, especially for the Black transgender community.
Violence has always been there. Okay, it's just always been there. I think nowadays we have more of a spotlight.
I read an article that most Black trans women don't live past 35. I just turned 36 and this is one of the scariest times in my life, like not knowing if I'm walking down the street and I'll get attacked by someone because of just who I am.
Voices who want to let their message out, to live like everyone else.
But the rising deaths and more than 300 pieces of anti-LGBTQ+ legislation proposed just last year, they say, makes it harder.
They discriminated against already. And then you're adding on the fact that they're trans too. That puts you in a place, again, a place of ignorance where you don't know how to deal with this individual. So instead, you use violence as a crutch.
Morales says he had a rough time during his early years of coming out and didn't realize until later transitioning was possible. Now he feels more the person he's meant to be, who says wants the American dream like everyone else.
Look at me. I am just like you. I work hard so I can make money, so I pay bills, so I can take care of myself and my family, so that, I can live a comfortable and nice life.
For London Desmond Asia, she's black, transgender, and a woman, layering the identities which statistics show place her at the highest risk of being attacked. She says she's had a supportive family and friends to get her where she is, but lately, things are different.
Between 3 and 5 years ago is when I stopped looking over my shoulder. But lately, it's kind of like, what is going on with the world?
While she's looking out for herself, she's also become a guardian angel for others in the community who may be just starting their own journey and not as accepted.
Unless you have breasts done and all this body work and facial done, you're not respected as that woman yet. So, some people, they just can't afford it.
But now she's been in the game for a while, proudly performing drag.
You never know, one of your children might come out like me. One of your grandchildren might come out like me. Your great-great auntie might have had a secret and was just like me, and you never knew.
Here they call Georgie's 419 a home for people like them to come together, to feel safe, seen, and human. They say many on the outside have not gotten to know them for who they are on the inside.
So practice what you preach. You want respect, give it. We all are children of God in my eyes. All of our blood is red unless you, some kind of animal.
Talk to somebody. Invite them for brunch. The gays love brunch. Invite us for brunch and we'll tell you almost everything you want to know or need to know.
For more information on the LGBTQ+ community, you can visit our website, WTOL.com. There you'll find educational information as well as organizations you can learn more about whether you're in the community or not. Reporting in Uptown Toledo, Trent Croce, WTOL 11.
College fraternities and sororities have been around since the late 1700s, but it wasn't until 1906 and 1908 that black college men and women could even join a Greek letter organization. Well, since then, 9 black Greek letter organizations have incorporated and formed the National Pan-Hellenic Council, or the Divine Nine. Tatiana Cash is a member and takes a brief look at how Greek life lasts long after college.
For some, joining a sorority or fraternity is something you do in college, and then you graduate and recall your Greek days fondly. But when you join a D9, be it Alpha, aka Kappa, Delta, Q, Sigma, Zeta, SG Rho, or an Iota,
it is a lifelong commitment. It does not end when you graduate college. It does not end when you are out of graduate school.
I myself have a cousin that he ended up pledging a predominantly white organization. When he and I talk about it, he says, "Oh, I was," talking about his fraternity, whereas when I talk about mine, "Oh, I am." And I will always be.
You see people that, that are older, 50, 60, 70, 80, representing Sigma, and that's a beautiful thing.
Alpha Phi Alpha, Alpha Kappa Alpha, Kappa Alpha Psi, Omega Psi Phi, Delta Sigma Theta, Phi Beta Sigma, Zeta Phi Beta, Sigma Gamma Rho, and Iota Phi Theta. Were all founded to give black collegiates a group where they can feel seen, heard, get mentorships, professional development. It's a group of people you can always find doing some sort of community service. And yes, these members do pay to be part of these organizations.
Oh, you pay for your friends too. I've never seen it in that manner, that I paid for my friends. What I saw was that I joined a group of like-minded individuals that had ambitions, goals, and dreams.
Partnering with Big Brothers and Big Sisters, or it was partnering with March of Dimes, or how do we make an impact? I mean, so truth of the matter is, it costs money to make impact.
Right now, one of our things is Firefly Nights. That's local, where we honor people from the UAW to be able just to showcase them and all the great things that they're doing in the community.
I'm not sure about anybody else, but my money is not long enough to give out $500,000 or $250,000 in scholarships. But I can be part of an organization that gives. I can contribute.
And while it's important to focus on all the good D9 is doing for their members and communities around the globe, another truth must be acknowledged: the dark side to all Greek life.
Those things are what the news basically focuses on a lot of the times, because you want people to be aware of those situations. They do happen, and I'm not going to deny that. So I would like for the parents who are interested in having their kids participate in Greek life to know that those situations may occur, but that is not it. Greek life consists of multiple things.
Each organization has its own colors, shield, mascot, and motto, and all claim to be the best of the 9.
Although, we all kind of stand alone, we all can work together to improve and better the community.
We are not the Crips, we are not the Bloods. Just because we have different colors don't mean that we are against each other. We are all together for the betterment of the community and the Black experience.
And don't be fooled. Though everyone may not always wear their letters or broadcast their acts of service,
that work behind the scenes is very serious, and they are committed. And it's some people that you wouldn't even know that are part of sororities or fraternities, that are part of very big decisions, very big just trends and monumental changes that are happening.
Because we have a love for our community.
As long as there is injustice, as long as there is a need to mentor, as long as there is a need to uplift the African Americans, there is a need for Alpha Phi Alpha.
Tatiana Cash, WTOL 11.
Well, Northwest Ohio and Southeast Michigan have no shortage of talents.
From artists to musicians, creators thrive. Now one local designer is taking his work to a new level, teaming up with a major clothing brand.
Here's Amanda Fay with the story.
There's no question Daryl Brown has style and pride in where he's from.
Yeah, this is his debut. It's like Toledo gets it first.
That debut is a partnership between Brown's Midwest Kid athletic wear brand and Hollister, a partnership that may have been destiny.
I kind of like took inspiration from a brand like Hollister growing up. They always had like the classic arch hit and with the different fabrications and stuff like that. So being able to merge the two together is pretty much. Yeah.
Brown is Toledo born and raised. We've been following the Rogers High School graduate's journey for about 2 years now. Brown says he grew up in LMHA housing and even left the Glass City, at least for a bit.
I moved away to New York City, probably maybe 15 years ago. I lived in New York for about 10 years, Los Angeles for about 4.5 years, and then relocated back to Toledo about 2 years ago now.
Even though he was away from home, Brown's heart never left his home.
Towards the end of 2019, I started a brand, just kind of to give people a sense of pride, from all over. I would travel all over the world, and I would hear people say that, take so much pride in being where they're from, like East Coast, West Coast, down South. So I thought it was cool to create something that give people from the Midwest a sense of pride and tradition.
That pride and tradition is shown off in the hoodies, shirts, and shorts now available exclusively at Hollister locations in Toledo and Columbus. And it's not just Hollister. Brown has worked on shoes with Adidas and made designs for celebrities like Kanye West, Machine Gun Kelly, and LeBron James. Amanda Fay, WTOL 11.
Well, Toledo's not like a lot of big cities. As you just heard, sometimes it takes leaving home to find your inspiration. Well, Jeff Smith introduces us to one of Toledo's successful entrepreneurs who needed just that.
Will Lucas left the Glass City years ago looking for inspiration, looking for truth.
It took me leaving Toledo to go see other black men who were around my age and were highly successful. I didn't see that growing up here locally. I didn't see a lot of black wealth growing up in Toledo, which is unfortunate.
You've seen the signs in town, you've heard the slogan. You will do better in Toledo, you will do better in Toledo.
You will do better in Toledo. You'll do better in Toledo, but unless I'm trying to hire somebody. And so what I would love to see us do, big companies, small companies, et cetera, is think local first.
meaning less outsourcing and more insourcing. That's what Will has tried to do as a local entrepreneur of tech and entertainment, but he says there needs to be more buy-in and guts.
I believe Toledo lost a lot of its entrepreneurial spirit when you had so many jobs available that didn't require a lot of education or risk. And there's nothing against those types of jobs, and I think people should get them if they can. But what it happens when you make a lot of money and you don't have a lot of education is you lose the risk appetite to go try something new.
Will's recent nomination for an NAACP Image Award has only strengthened his drive to do more, make more, and to be an example of what one person can become.
I believe my life's purpose is to both create content and create opportunities that help Black people realize entrepreneurial success beyond their wildest dreams. So everything I do is designed to accomplish that.
Well, boxing in Toledo has history that dates back more than 100 years.
We are home to world champions and Olympians, but Jordan Strack shows us the story of boxing in the Glass City can't be told without that name, Larry Moreland.
He is considered the father of modern boxing in Toledo. In the 1950s, Moreland and a friend named Al Perales broke barriers and changed lives of kids all over the city. They became the first people of color to own and operate a gym here in Toledo.
It was a vehicle for them to get kids off the streets, keep them out of trouble, and even some kids that got in trouble, he helped them get back on track. One of the biggest pleasures in my dad's life was when we would be out when I was a kid as a family, and somebody would come up to him and tell him, you know, Larry, if it hadn't been for you, I'd still be in jail. And that happened a lot.
Larry Moreland and Al Perales ran their boxing gym out of their own pockets and with no sponsors, something that wasn't happening in Toledo at the time, all the while facing hurdles because of the color of their skin.
Dad was the first Black promoter for boxing in Toledo. The very first one that ever promoted. He had his own shows. He had to, and he had some roadblocks put in his way to do that. There were people that tried to stop him from doing that, but he was able to hurdle those barriers.
Larry Moreland knew he had to outwork everyone. He worked multiple jobs, and when no one would rent him a ring, Moreland put his carpentry skills to use. He built a ring in the basement of the Port Lawrence homes. When staring down the face of clear racism, he taught his fighters to fight harder.
When it came to boxing decisions, he taught his fighters, especially the ones Black and brown, that if you're fighting somebody that's not the same color as you, you are not going to win a close decision, period. You have to outfight them. And if it's close, you're not going to win.
Moreland had an impact on so many young fighters in his day. His success paved the way for generation after generation. The latest generation is being represented on the world's biggest stage by a new young fighter from Toledo. Jared Anderson has become a household name in the boxing world, and he certainly has an appreciation for history and fighters that came before him.
Well, when I started out, I was so young. I was only 8 years old. I didn't know anything about boxing. I was barely knowing anything about school or anything in general. But for sure, when I actually got into it and realized the roots of boxing in Toledo, I fell in love with it. You know, the brotherhood in it and how everybody has each other's backs.
As Anderson trains down in Houston to become the next world champion from the 419, back home, the African American Legacy Project over on Collingwood continues to be a shrine to Black athletes who call Toledo home. Inside, you can find a small section dedicated to Larry Moreland in hopes of keeping his memory alive forever.
It's ultimately important that people know about this place, especially young Black men and women, because they can see how Black people had so much to do with forming Toledo the way it is today. And it shows you again, my dad started off as the floor sweeper at Doler Jarvis, ended up as chief shop steward. So it shows kids, the younger generation, that it's not where you came from, it's where you're going. And that's one of the things that Dad preached.
From educational activities to Black churches in our community, we've explored just some of the important stories during our Black History Month special.
But there's one thing that we haven't shared just yet, the food. Yeah, we're excited about that. Kaylee Kirby introduces us to one of the area's Black-owned restaurants that will have you coming back for seconds.
If you're looking for some good Southern-style cooking, look no further than Ruby's Kitchen.
Catfish, the peach cobbler, sweet potato cheesecake is like awesome. The dressing, chicken and dressing on Sundays is great.
My favorite is banana pudding, and they only have that on Sundays. And the cornbread dressing, which they only have that on Sundays.
Located on Reynolds near Dorr Street, the restaurant has been serving customers for 20 years. Some of them coming for almost as long as it's been open.
Oh, I've never had a bad experience. She always treats me like a son, so I feel comfortable with coming here. So that's why I keep coming.
For Ruby's family, this restaurant is a legacy.
My Ruby started this restaurant with nothing, and she's been having this dream since she's been 12 years old.
And it's that work ethic that's been passed down to the family members who operate the business.
Go big or go home, right?
They pride themselves on being able to offer a family atmosphere that's made even better by the food.
On Sundays, you can expect all the preachers to be in here eating and, just laughing and having a good time, bringing their families in and just our family being able to give their family a great meal.
Even though the restaurant's only open 4 days a week, it hasn't deterred the amount of customers.
I run a barber shop over here in the Library Plaza. She used to be next door to me. So I was there every day. And I still, even though she's around the corner now, I'm still here.
From the ribs to the pig's feet, Ruby's family says there's something for the whole family to enjoy.
The food, I know, is made with love, so it's, 2 decades, it speaks for itself, I'm very proud of them.
In Toledo, Kaylee Kirby, WTOL 11.
Wow.
Hungry now.
Right. Well, we want to thank you so much for joining us for our WTOL 11 family as we celebrate Black History Month.
And we hope you enjoyed our look at just some of the people leaving their mark on history in our community.